And good morning. Thanks for tuning in to AOC and Cypress Street Radio, as well as YouTube this morning for our local news live program. We do this every weekday from 9 to 10, where our volunteers read articles from the Acadiana Advocate, our local news and state news, and our quintessential volunteer as of late from his home studio, Bruce Cohen. Can you hear me, Bruce?
I definitely can hear you, Miss Mandy. How are you this morning?
I'm great. I'm great. It feels good to kind of be in the engineer seat from afar, but still.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is nice to have you on board this morning. It's really great to be introduced by you and to hear your marvelous voice, which I haven't heard in a while.
Same here, Bruce. Well, I hear you on the news daily, but to actually converse, it's been wonderful.
It's been great.
Well, I know
So
we've got a lot of news this morning, so I
we
think I'm
do,
going
we
to let you
do.
just kind of take it away.
Thank you. Fridays are usually packed, so
Hmm.
thank you so much, Miss Mandy.
Thanks,
Thank you so
Bruce.
much. Well, good morning, Acadiana. Today is Friday, June 19th, Juneteenth, and we're going to read about that too. This is a special day for African American history in our country. But it is Friday, June 19th, 2020, so let's get on with the news. COVID-19 coronavirus, the latest. Louisiana sees concerning rise in cases. Edwards lists Acadiana among areas most at risk by Sam Carlin. Louisiana is seeing a concerning rise in cases and a recent uptick in hospitalizations in recent days, state officials said Thursday, with the vast majority of new infections the result of community spread in cities across the state. Although Governor John Bel Edwards said he is not considering moving backward in the phased reopening, several regions, including Acadiana, are experiencing steep inclines in cases, spikes in hospitalizations, and other criteria officials use to decide whether to continue reopening. We're seeing a rate of rise that in 2 weeks could make us look like Texas or make us look like Mississippi or Alabama or Arkansas, all of which has been spiking cases, said Dr. Alex Billio, Assistant Secretary for the state's Office of Public Health. Flattening the curve isn't something you do once and forget about, Edwards said. We still have the disease. It's still contagious. It is still deadly. We can easily see the gains we've made evaporate. Louisiana has experienced recent upticks in hospitalizations and rising cases. At the same time, total testing has taken a slight dip, according to a presentation from Louisiana Department of Health. On Thursday, the department did not report any new data on cases, which Billio attributed to the agency working to clean data and make sure cases are put in the proper location. He said the state will resume reporting on Friday. Edwards is expected to announce as early as Monday whether the state is moving into phase 3 of reopening, but data, either way, tomato or tomato, presented by the health department news conference Thursday indicates that several regions aren't meeting the gating criteria currently. The governor declined to say whether he's considering moving some regions into phase 3, but not others. The health department repeatedly has reported its news case with backlogs from labs that Billio said had glitches or are new to the state's reporting system. Data shown Thursday showing rising cases across the state were cleaned up to fix the backlogs. Such issues have made it difficult for the public following the state's public-facing dashboard to determine exactly what the state's trackatory looks like. Louisiana has ramped up its testing considerably in recent weeks, which can contribute to rising cases as the state discovers more coronavirus. But that rise in testing can't explain the sheer number of new cases and upticks in infections are coming as total testing has recently dipped slightly. Excluding backlogs, Edwards said the state has confirmed more than 4,200 new coronavirus cases since June 10th. The real number is almost certainly much higher because many people who are infected experience no symptoms or are mild symptoms or are asymptomatic. A small fraction of the new cases are coming from congregate settings like nursing homes and prisons, Billio said. That is good news for such places which have been rocked by the virus and contribute an outsized share of deaths to the state's death toll. On the other hand, it means the vast majority of new cases are coming from community spread. Officials said Thursday people need to do a better job of wearing masks when in public, staying home when sick, and taking other precautions. Edwards said the public needs to do a gut check on whether they have been taking the recommended steps to limit infections. The health department's Region 1, which comprises New Orleans and surrounding areas, was among the hardest hit nationally in March and April from the virus, something officials believe may have been the result of the coronavirus being present during Mardi Gras. The region has experienced a recent uptick in cases and a slight drop in total testing, according to the agency's presentation. Hospitalizations are trending down, but Billy O said officials are concerned recent upticks may be the start of a new trend. The Baton Rouge region has seen an undulating pattern in new cases and the same phenomenon in hospitalizations as New Orleans. The areas of most concern include Acadiana, which Billy O said has seen a very alarming rise in new cases. The region has seen several outbreaks at crawfish processing facilities, but the state has not released data that will show how much that is contributing to the rise. Likewise, the Lake Charles and Alexandria regions are seeing poor trends. The state continues to have a hard time reaching people through contact tracing, a key part of the state's reopening strategy, where workers call people who tested positive and track down their close contacts. The goal is to get people who were infected and close contacts to isolate for 14 days. The state has reached only about 57% of the infected people it has called, which doesn't include many who have incomplete contact information. The state never reached 27% of those infected. Close contacts of people who are infected are picking up the phone more often, with the state reaching 65% of them. Nobody wants to go backwards and start imposing more restrictions, Edwards said. And we won't need to do that if people will do what we're asking, including wearing masks. Savoie, UL hopes for fall classes, football, university president also expects deficit by Ken Stickney. Despite the University of Louisiana Lafayette taking action early on to stem the spread of the coronavirus, President E. Joseph Savoie on Thursday said the challenges for UL have not diminished as it moves through summer and into an uncertain autumn. Speaking by Zoom to the Lafayette Rotary Club, Savoie said there's a threefold plan for dealing with the threat of a second wave of coronavirus that threatens people's health. First plan is for face-to-face courses if the second wave doesn't arrive. Second is distance courses should a health threat arise during the semester and perhaps a later return to campus. And the third, remote learning, the students must leave campus for the semester. He said the campus will use social distancing measures during face-to-face classes and in residential halls, which he said may fill up to only about 3/4 capacity to keep residents safely apart. Typically, he said, halls fill up to about 95%. Fall enrollment may drop the hope for a standstill in numbers, which would hurt the campus finances with fewer collections in tuition, housing, meals, parking fees, and more. The sunniest outlook calls for a $12 million hit, he said in answer to an audience question. Worst case is for a $32 million drop in funds. He said he hopes the federal government can help. In answer to another question, he said the campus is planning on a regular football season with the team already on campus. Savoie said the campus took valuable lessons from its own history in meeting the pandemic, specifically from its first president, Edwin L. Stevens, who led what was then the Southwest Louisiana Industrial Institute through the Spanish flu in 1918-1919. Among those lessons, close the campus when necessary, heed expert advice, and reopen only when it was absolutely safe. That, he said, was what UL did starting in January when it first suspended travel to China. It's what the campus is doing now, limiting face-to-face classes and moving most classes online. He took particular pride in faculty members reimagining their classes after March 13th, when face-to-face classes were ended. He said they returned with remote learning 5 days later. Nor did the faculty rest after that. They resumed teaching the next day from their homes. We never closed, he said, recounting how faculty and staff never lost their optimism as the semester rolled on, though in different form. The payoff may come in May when UL graduated a large and its most diverse class despite the unprecedented nature of the semester. The new graduates, he said, are prepared to define the future. He also said the campus remained home to about 900 resident students after on-campus classes ended for a variety of reasons. Some international students had nowhere to go. Other students opted to stay on campus rather than to impose health risks at home. Through it all, Savoy said, the campus continued to feed students even without food plans and with food pantries and other on-campus grab-and-go meals. Much of the cost, he said, was assumed by donations. There is hope, he said, for some sense of normalcy in the fall, which is about a routine resumption of classes would bring. But he said the focus will be on safety as defined by expert advice, not a foolhardy symbolism that might risk lives. He's taking sage advice from a campus committee, he said, and from the public health officer, and of course, his predecessor, Stevens. Guillory seeks new LUS consultant, parish mayor president. Firm missed pricing scheme with fiber division by Claire Taylor. Lafayette Parish Mayor President Josh Guillory, in a memo to city and parish council members on Wednesday, said he's searching for a new engineering consultant for the Lafayette Utility System, or LUS, accusing the current consultant of missing or ignoring irregularities that cost LUS millions of dollars. New Gen Strategies and Solutions, which was hired in 2015, Guillory wrote, failed to identify and report irregularities that occurred under former LUS Director Terry Huval, in which LUS electric, water, and sewer divisions subsidized its fledgling fiber operations, which it was prohibited from doing. Calling Huval's actions a massive illegal pricing scheme that violated the Fair Competition Act, State Public Service Commission rules, LUS's cost Guillory allocation manual, and good business practices. Guillory said the consultants missed the scheme through 6 annual due diligence audits and additional reviews for bond sales. When New Gen recently issued its 2019 audit, it barely mentioned the irregularities, Guillory wrote. It is hard for me to believe that this failure to report was not purposeful, he wrote, calling the company's action grossly negligent. Guillory also criticized New Gen for reporting concerns that interim LUS Director Lowell Duhon, promoted by previous Mayor President Joe Robideau from his post as Chief Administrative Officer, does not have the engineering qualifications to serve in the position. Duhon, he said, has the financial ability to correct the problems at LUS and has qualified engineers on staff to assist with technical operations. Attached to Guillory's memo to the councils are a 14-page review of New Gen by attorney Lawrence Marino and a memo by City Parish Chief Administrative Officer Cedra Wingirder, who described 10 actions Duhon has taken to correct problems at LUS to end the cross-subsidization and save the utility system money. That's why Guillory sent the documents to the parish council, which, as laid out in the Home Rule Charter, has no authority over the city-owned utility. Jamie Angel, Guillory's Chief Communications Officer, replied via email saying LUS Fiber services customers both in the city and the parts of the parish, and it doesn't stand to reason that the parish council is also made aware of something that could have impact on the constituents' fees and service. In January, for the first time since Lafayette Consolidated Government was formed in 1996, separate city and parish councils were seated, replacing the combined city-parish council. Voters in 2018 approved a Home Rule Charter amendment creating the separate councils to ensure the city maintains control of its operations and dollars. Under the combined council members with few constituents in the city voted on LUS and other city-only matters. Pro-charter advocates have expressed concern over Guillory's handling of city matters separate from parish matters, and he's fond of saying Lafayette is in Lafayette Parish. He recently appointed a parish councilman to serve on a committee reviewing candidates for Lafayette Police Chief, a city-only position. The issue surfaced again when budget amendments for the city, parish, and LUS were contained into a single ordinance for both councils to vote on. The charter says only city council members should vote on the city budget and LUS budget. Chief Financial Officer Lori Toops, in a memo last week, said after consulting with city parish attorneys, she withdrew the ordinance. Administrators are expected to present budget amendments to the councils separately. Okay, and let's read a couple of public service announcements at this time. The Homegrown Pop-Up Market is coming to Macomb VC Cultural District. Homegrown Pop-Up Market, presented by the Macomb and VC neighborhood, is a family-friendly monthly community pop-up market happening every third Saturday from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m., featuring local businesses and artists. This tomorrow on June 20th, Saturday, June 20th, 2020, there will be fresh veggies, vendors, and new ideas brought to the neighborhood. The Macomb VC neighborhood and its friends will host vendor booths, live music, games, and activities for all. The event will be held from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Macomb VC Community House at 419 12th Street, which is at the intersection of 12th and South Magnolia Streets in Lafayette. Admission is free and the event is open to the public. It's brought to you in coordination with the Macomb VC neighborhood, Veggies on the Go, Healthutarian, and the Northside Vegan. Food and beverages will be available on site for purchase. Camp Unique Dreams Foundation. Every summer, the Dreams Foundation of Acadiana hosts the greatest camp of all, Camp Unique. Camp Unique is suited for individuals with special needs. Camp Unique will be held July 13th through the 17th for ages 5 to 13, and July 20th through 24th for ages 14 and up. Fee will be $75, and the theme this year is Peace and Love. All Camp Unique sessions will be held at Lark's Acadian Village. Individuals of all ages have a blast participating at a camp that is specifically tailored to them. You get the opportunity to take part in activities such as art, fitness, karaoke, music, and dance, as well as getting a Camp Unique t-shirt and a snack every day. A highlight of Camp Unique this year will be the storytelling session by Chief Greyhawk Perkins, commented Dreams Foundation Executive Director Danielle Watkins. As a recognized expert on Native American and American colonial history, Perkins has inspired many audiences over the years, sharing tales of ancient cultures as a tribal storyteller and as a teacher of various subjects in Louisiana's school system. The registration form for Camp Unique can be found on the Dreams Foundation of Acadiana website. That's dreamsfoundationaca.org. Volunteers are now being sought at this time. If you're interested in volunteering, please complete the application on the Dreams website under the Volunteer tab. For more information about Camp Unique, you can contact Danielle Watkins by email at Danielle, that's DONIELLE, at dreamsfoundationaca.org, or by phone by calling 337-962-1609. That's 337-962-1609. Okay, heading back into the news. In a report, duck die off from natural causes. Officials, parasites, natural population control to blame for bird deaths at Girard Park by Katie Gagliano. Wildlife investigators issued a report this week that the sudden die-off of ducks at Girard Park in May was caused by parasites and natural population control, not chemical exposure or nefarious means. The investigation began after 8 Muscovy ducks and a nutria were found dead in the Girard Park pond in early May, alarming residents who frequent the park. James LaCour, state wildlife veterinarian with the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries, said a necropsy on one of the sickly ducks, autopsy, necropsy on one of the sickly ducks at the U.S. Geological Survey National Wildlife Health Center in Madison, Wisconsin, revealed the duck's illnesses were caused by parasites, likely stemming from exposure to fecal matter in the pond water, he said. Parasites cause catastrophic system failures in the birds. The collection of significant amount of feces is difficult to avoid with large concentrations of resident ducks like those at Girard Park that, unlike migratory wild ducks, are semi-captive and tend to stick to a small residence area. When the local population gets too big, die-offs aren't uncommon in park areas as nature tries to restore balance, LaCour said. Populations limit themselves, and parasites and diseases are one of those mechanisms. As the population grows and more ducks are hatched or get dropped off, and the population gets too high, you start having die-offs, he said. LaCour said his team visited Girard Park several times to collect samples and observe and didn't detect any obvious dangers or outside influences that might have caused harm to the ducks. There were previously concerns about the presence of organ phosphates in the water from pesticides or insecticides and the possibility those chemicals contributed to the ducks' illnesses. A report from the Louisiana Department of Agriculture and Forestry found organ phosphate levels were within acceptable ranges according to state and federal regulations, said a statement Wednesday from Lafayette Consolidated Government. There are no fingers to point here, and nothing's been mismanaged, LaCour said. I think they are doing what they can be done. It's nothing as serious as a malicious event. It's just the normal cascade of life, trying to reach an equilibrium of population. Frank Wittenberg, interim Parks and Recreation Director, said the ducks are technically wild and not under the care of the department, but the agency is doing what it can to ensure the ducks have a safe environment. That mainly boils down to keeping an eye on swells in the duck and goose populations and connecting you with organizations or individuals who can relocate some of the ducks before another die-off happens, he said. We'll try to monitor. We certainly can't count every single one, but we can get an idea of when the population gets large and when we can start looking for avenues for people to adopt them or rehome them, Wittenberg said. Wittenberg said department staff is looking at the presence of organophosphates in the pond water. Even though they were acceptable levels, Parks Department and contractors do not use pesticides or insecticides on its properties, and they're trying to determine if the chemicals came from runoff from the University of Louisiana at Lafayette or other local areas, he said. Separately, the department is working with state assistants to control algae growth in the pond to prevent it from spreading and becoming a problem for local wildlife and general park upkeep, the interim director said. LaCour said one way the community can help the ducks is to refrain from introducing new ducks to the Girard Park area and limit feeding the ducks. When food sits in the water, it can grow bacteria, which could make the ducks sick. Encouraging the ducks to compete for food rather than scavenging brings the ducks in proximity as they fight over food and could contribute to the spread of disease, the wildlife veterinarian said. Okay, next article. Thank God for Drew Brees, donation to increase service to Hungary and Acadiana by Ken Stickney. Drew Brees' charitable efforts in South Louisiana are expanding again to Lafayette, where he is partnering with the Catholic Charities of Acadiana and others in an effort that will increase the capacity to feed the hungry. A Catholic Charities of Acadiana spokesman confirmed a brief statement on Facebook that said a Second Harvest Food Bank will invest in a kitchen in Acadiana, greatly increasing its capacity to provide meals from the current 2,100 Catholic Charities serves weekly to 2,100 a day. The kitchen will be an expansion of the kitchen at St. Joseph Diner, operated by Catholic Charities of Acadiana, and could open by mid-July. Spokesman said Brees has been in talks with Second Harvest and Catholic Charities since early spring. He said Brees is personally excited about this as is his wife, Brittany. Breeze has also worked through Lafayette Consolidated Government to provide food. A spokesman for Second Harvest, established by the Archdiocese of New Orleans in 1982, said the effort is part of a $5 million pledge Breeze made earlier this year. Second Harvest has previously shipped meals to the area from its warehouse and kitchen in New Orleans, but the distance is too great to send hot meals. The Acadiana Kitchen will resolve that challenge, bringing new efficiency to food preparation and distribution in Acadiana. Catholic Charities have been feeding the poor in Acadiana primarily through St. Joseph Diner and at the Emily House. Second Harvest President and CEO Natalie Giroux said her organization will provide additional people and equipment to the new kitchen in a permanent partnership with Catholic Charities. We will maintain their program, the one they have always done. There is so much more we would like to do, especially caring for children, the elderly, and rural areas, she said. Thank God for Drew Breeze, who is making this possible. Catholic Charities confirmed that people here are experiencing additional food insecurity because of COVID-19 and the pandemic. The need was always there. Second Harvest, which now operates independently of the church as an affiliated ministry, has maintained services in Acadiana, but will expand with the changes. A spokesman said the pandemic has altered its efforts. With schools closed, only about 80% of its partners for food distribution remain open. That's created new urgencies to serve the hungry through alternative methods. Until the pandemic, Second Harvest has operated in 23 parishes with more than 700 partners, serving 32 million meals a year to 210,000 people. Now, under a new model, they work with additional pantries and soup kitchens. All right, so it's almost halfway through our broadcast, so we'll go to a couple more PSAs, and then we'll go to the day in history and the zodiac or horoscope, as I refer to it, and the funerals in the Acadiana area today. AOC teams up with the United Way of Acadiana for Learning United. United Way of Acadiana has teamed up with AOC and other local educational groups for Learn United, bridging the digital gap to provide educational resources for households that don't have internet but do have a television. The Learn United program airs weekdays from 8 to 2 on AOC 2, Cox 16, LUS 4, and streaming at aocinc.org/watch for the daily schedules and to submit content for the program. Visit the United Way of Acadiana website. That's unitedwayofacadiana.org/word-united. If you find that you have to keep calm through this COVID-19 pandemic, there is a place that you can call. It's called the Keeping Calm Through COVID hotline. So if you're feeling overwhelmed with the stress and fear and anxiety the pandemic has been bringing to you, there is a special Keeping Calm Through COVID hotline you can call. This connects you to trained compassionate counselors who can offer support and can direct you to mental health and substance abuse counseling services. Trained counselors are available 24/7 and all calls are confidential. Call 1-866-310-7977. And continuing with that thought, locally, Stop the Spread call instead, #Stop the Spread. Locally, for the latest COVID-19 updates and information, you can call 311 or go online to 311lafayette.services. Call centers with volunteers and medical professionals who are active 24/7 to answer your questions about COVID-19 and to determine if you need to get screened. You may also call 311 and press option 2 if you are a business owner or employee or looking for a job to get information about applying for small business recovery loans, apply for unemployment benefits, or related programs. Okay, and in Today in History, today is Friday, June 19th. It's the 171st day of 2020. There are 195 potential shopping days left in the year. And to all those that this includes, which is the entire community, happy Juneteenth. Today's highlight in history: on June 19, 1964, Civil Rights Act of 1964 was approved by the U.S. Senate 73-27 after surviving a lengthy filibuster. On this date in 1775, George Washington was commissioned by the Continental Congress as Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army. In 1865, Union troops arrived in Galveston, Texas, with the news that the Civil War was over and that all remaining slaves in Texas were free, an event celebrated to this day as Juneteenth, because they were apparently the last population of African Americans to get the news about the end of slavery. In 1952, the U.S. Army Special Forces, the elite unit of fighters known as the Green Berets, was established at Fort Bragg, North Carolina. In 1953, Julius Rosenberg, 35, and his wife Essel, 37, convicted of conspiring to pass U.S. atomic secrets to the Soviet Union, were executed at Sing Sing prison in Ossining, New York. In 1987, the U.S. Supreme Court struck down a Louisiana law requiring any public school teaching the theory of evolution to teach creation science as well. In 2006, Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice warned North Korea it would face consequences if it test-fired a missile thought to be powerful enough to reach the west coast of the United States. In 2009, Texas billionaire R. Allen Stanford was indicted in jail on charges his international banking empire was really just a Ponzi scheme built on lies, bluster, and bribery. Stanford was sentenced to 110 years in prison after being convicted of bilking investors in a $7.2 billion scheme that involved the sale of fraudulent certificates of deposit. 10 years ago, President Barack Obama used his weekly radio and internet address to pin blame on Republicans for making life harder for the unemployed and for those who could lose their jobs without new federal intervention. 5 years ago, the Obama administration released its annual terrorism report, which said Iran's support for international terrorist groups have remained undiminished in the last year and even expanded in some respects. 1 year ago, the Trump administration ordered a sweeping about-face on Obama-era efforts to fight climate change, easing restrictions on coal-fired power plants. In a day-long interview with the House Judiciary Committee, former type White House advisor Hope Hicks refused to answer questions related to her time in the White House. Looking at today's birthdays, pop singer Tommy DeVito from the Four Seasons is 92. Wow. Actress Gina Rowlands is 90. Nobel Peace Laureate Aung San Suu Kyi is 75. Author Sir Salman Rushdie is 73. Actress Felicia Rashad is 72. Rock singer Ann Wilson of Heart is 70. Actress Kathleen Turner is 66. Paula Abdul is 58. Rock musician Brian Head Welch is 50. Actress Robin Tunney is 48. Rapper Macklemore of Macklemore and Ryan Lewis is 38. Actor Paul Dano is 36. And actor Giacomo Giannotti is 31. Looking at the horoscope for today of the zodiac, if you're a Gemini, you need added discipline will help you reach your goal. Fitness, better health, and improving meaningful relationships are encouraged. The changes you make will alter the way you live and what you do. Cancer, change of pace will perk you up and encourage you to try things differently. Enjoy the moment while you turn a challenge into an adventure. Expand your mind. Leo, coordinate with an organization that helps those in need. Your input and vitality will inspire others to contribute to a worthy cause. Don't let an unexpected change bring you down. Virgos, my birth sign, keep an open mind, but don't feel you have to give in to someone who is playing emotional mind games with you. Change begins with you, not with someone else. Libra, put your energy into personal growth, self-improvement, fitness, health, and educational pursuits. Keep up with technology and you'll find a way to use your skills productively. Scorpio, don't be fooled by what someone else is professing to do. Dance to your beat and you'll find the path that leads to peace of mind. Avoid joint ventures. Sagittarius, do something beautiful for someone you love. Keeping the peace will make your life easier. Compromise when necessary and avoid getting into an unnecessary argument. Physical fitness is encouraged. Capricorns, use your imagination, intelligence, and experience to make your life and surroundings better. Do the work yourself and save money. An unexpected gain is heading your way. Aquarius, spend more time with the one you love. Challenging times will bring you closer together. Working toward a common domestic goal will add to your comfort and ease stress. Pisces, protect against injury and illness, abide by the rules, and don't take a risk that you can leave in a precarious position. Use your intuition and intelligence to keep you safe. Aries, your memory will not let you down. An aggressive approach to getting what you want will help you to speed up the process. A commitment someone makes will please you. Offer something in return. Taurus, say what's on your mind and get on with your life. It's time to make a change that will get you back on track. Revisit your dreams, hopes, and wishes. And that is the horoscope for today. And the horoscope is always an entertainment feature, not based on scientific fact. Looking at the funerals today in the Acadiana area, Elizabeth Duet, St. Francis Regis Catholic Church in Arnoldville at 11 a.m. Victor Lamadrid, Sacred Heart of Jesus Catholic Church in New Iberia at 11 a.m. Pamela Melanson, Liturgy of the Word in Evangeline Memorial Gardens Chapel in Carrico at 2 p.m. Paris Pateo, or Patio, it's spelled patio, but it's probably pronounced Pateo. Our Savior's Church, 101 Marie Antoinette Street, Lafayette at noon. And Dolores Tipper, Our Lady of Lourdes Catholic Church at 1 p.m. Okay, getting back into the news. Positive test shut down Kaplan City Hall lobby. Drive-through window remains open by Claire Taylor. The lobby of Kaplan City Hall is located or is closed until further notice after an employee tested positive for the coronavirus. Kaplan Mayor Mike Closell posted the announcement Thursday morning on his Facebook page. I apologize for any inconvenience that this causes, but we must consider the safety of our city employees and customers, he wrote. The drive-through window at City Hall remains open, Closell wrote, so all business can still be handled. He encouraged residents to pay bills online, drop payments in the nightly deposit, or mail them to avoid lines at the drive-through window. Please continue to follow social distancing guidelines as well as wearing a mask in public, Closell wrote. We are experiencing an increase in confirmed cases in all of our parish, so please be careful out there. Vermilion Parish has seen an increase in confirmed COVID-19 cases in recent weeks. In the past 7 days, 34 new cases were reported by the state health officials. Since the case was first reported in the parish, there have been 99 cases, so about 1/3 of the cases have been reported in the past 7 days. There have been 5 deaths in Vermilion Parish attributed to COVID-19. As of Wednesday, there have been 48,634 confirmed coronavirus cases across the state and 2,950 coronavirus-related deaths. State health officials say they are reviewing COVID-19 numbers and did not release update data on new cases and deaths on Thursday. Dr. Alex Billio, Assistant Secretary for the state's Office of Public Health, said Thursday that Acadiana has seen a very alarming rise in cases. Louisiana has also seen a slight decrease in testing levels. At the same time, cases are increasing, he said. Looking at the crime blotter from Advocate staff reports, suspect in custody after Opelousas man stabbed to death. A 55-year-old Opelousas man died after being stabbed multiple times overnight Thursday Opolis Police Chief Martin McClendon said the victim, Aaron Charles, was dead when officers arrived at his home in the 1600 block of Peugeot Street about 12:36 a.m. Charles's mother called 911 after discovering her son injured inside the home, but was unaware of the extent of his injuries, McClendon said. The chief said officers responded to the area Wednesday evening after a disturbance between Charles and a neighbor. The other man is considered a suspect in Charles's death and has been taken into custody for questioning pending arrest, McClendon said. Alabama woman killed in Evangeline Parish crash. A 32-year-old Alabama woman died Wednesday after her vehicle ran off the road in Evangeline Parish. Kathleen Drew of Gulf Shores died in an area hospital after her 218 Hyundai Elantra ran off LA 10 near Spring Prairie Road, struck several trees, and overturned. The crash happened about 8:15 p.m., and the cause is still being determined, a statement from Louisiana State Police Troop 1 spokesman, Trooper Thomas Coulson, said. Drew was wearing a seatbelt at the time of the crash, and no other vehicles were involved. A passenger in the vehicle, who was unrestrained at the time of the crash, was taken to an area hospital for treatment of minor injuries, Coulson said. Impairment is unknown, and standard toxicology samples were taken. Crash remains under investigation, the statement said. Man sentenced for carjacking spree. A 30-year-old Lafayette man was sentenced to 20 years in federal prison for a series of carjackings in February of 2019. Manuel King was sentenced Thursday by U.S. District Judge Robert R. Summerhays to 20 years in federal prison and 3 years of supervised release for 3 armed carjackings committed on February 20th, 2019, a statement from U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Louisiana, David C. Joseph, said. King previously pleaded guilty to the charges on March 5th. The crime spree began when King approached a man in a Walmart parking lot, stole his wallet and Jeep Grand Cherokee after threatening the victim with a Kimber 9mm semi-automatic pistol. Shortly after, King crashed the victim's Jeep and carjacked a second victim before also crashing that vehicle and carjacking a third victim, the statement said. King was pursued by police and eventually crashed the third vehicle into a pond, at which point he was arrested and found in possession of the 9mm pistol he used to rob the victims. His wallet was also discovered in the second victim's wrecked vehicle, Joseph Release said. King has previous felony convictions. The February incidents were investigated by the Lafayette Police Department, Lafayette City Marshal's Office, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. Man accused of stealing and selling horses. A 76-year-old Eunice man was arrested Thursday for stealing horses from an Acadian Parish Animal Rescue, officials say. Frederick A. Lower was arrested on 7 counts of livestock theft and 1 count of intimidating a witness, booked into the Acadian Parish Jail. Lower allegedly stole the 7 horses from the rescue and sold the animals without the owner's permission. Statement from the Louisiana Department of Agriculture and Forestry said. The agency's Livestock Brand Commission recovered 6 of the 7 horses. 4 were found at a livestock dealer in North Louisiana, and 2 were found at a farm in Acadia Parish. The estimated value of the stolen livestock is $14,000, the release said. I urge anyone who owns livestock to brand, tag, microchip, or tattoo your animals so they can be easily identified, and of course, keep thorough records, Agricultural and Forestry Commissioner Mike Strain said. If you need to contact a crime reporter at the Acadiana Advocate, you can email acadiananews@theadvocate.com or call 337-534-0526 to get the story into the crime plotter. Moving on, a bid to study police practices advances. House panel approves resolution by Will Centel. Legislation that would launch statewide hearings on police practices, including racial bias recognition, neared final approval Thursday when it was passed by a Louisiana House committee. The proposal of Senate Concurrent Resolution 7 would set up a 23-member task force to make recommendations to the legislature on how policies are trained, including screening, tactics used to de-escalate confrontations, and how officers report misconduct of their fellow officers. State Senator Cleo Fields, Democrat from Baton Rouge and sponsor of the plan, said the aim is identifying and eliminating bad actors at police departments across the state. The proposal cleared the House Criminal Justice Committee without dissent and next faces action in the full House. The proposal says the killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis has focused public discourse on the causes of police brutality and the use of excessive force, especially when used against people of color. The issue sparked controversy briefly Thursday when Representative Tony Bacala, Republican from Berryville, questioned the wording that says Black men are 3 times more likely than white men to be killed by police. Bacala said he discovered statistics that show 584 police officers died in the line of duty since 2017, and that police are 40 times more likely to die than are Black men to be killed by police. The resolution would require the panel to get started no later than August 15th. It would include state lawmakers, peace officers, representatives of the NAACP, Louisiana State Conference, the Urban League of Louisiana, and criminal law professors from LSU and Southern University. Okay. A bill sending $250 to frontline workers advances in-house by Sam Carlin. Democrats in the Louisiana House on Thursday reached a deal with Republican lawmakers on a proposal to send $250 checks to potentially hundreds of thousands of frontline workers, using $50 million in federal aid to fund the program. State Representative Sam Jenkins, Democrat out of Shreveport, and the chair of the House Democratic Caucus, is sponsoring the legislation, House Bill 70. The measure would make a host of workers who interacted with the police at the height of the pandemic, including nurses, cops, grocery store workers, bus drivers, and others, eligible for $250 checks from the state government. Democrats and Republicans spent hours Thursday negotiating over the legislation, ultimately reaching a deal on a key sticking point: how to fund it. Republicans have sought to ensure small businesses will get $300 million out of a $865 million pot of federal funding from a stimulus package passed by Congress. Local governments will get the other $565 million. If the legislation becomes law, people will be eligible for the $250 checks if they work in healthcare, housekeeping, food services, grocery stores, long-term care facilities, as bus drivers, police officers, firefighters, and a list of other occupations. They would have to make $50,000 a year or less and meet other requirements. If all $50 million were used on the checks, 200,000 people could receive them. New jobless claims still climbing in Louisiana by Kristen Mossbrucker. Many businesses have reopened for the first time in months across Louisiana as restrictions to curb the spread of the coronavirus are loosened, but new unemployment claims are still climbing after a period of recovery. There were 22,122 first-time unemployment claims filed last week, up from 21,879 the week before. By comparison to more typical numbers, there were only 2,372 new unemployment claims for the same time next year. Existing unemployment claims increased as well to 306,358 last week from 305,083 the week before. The state's first-time claim numbers have fallen as low as 19,334, and continuing claims are at 301,598 earlier this month as the state's stay-at-home order loosens. Economists last week had said the rising claim numbers could signal businesses have reassessed how long the road to recovery for for the state economy will be, or possibility of federal changes in the federal Paycheck Protection Program that allow them to stretch payroll loan dollars over a longer period in time and how they could be used. Among other hard-hit sectors, healthcare and social assistance had 2,411 new claims and retail trade 2,396. Construction had 2,327 new claims last week, down from a single week peak of 10,175 in April as well. LSU expects to enter Phase 3 of return plan on June 29th by Brooks Cubana. LSU expects to begin Phase 3 of its return to campus plan on June 29th, university officials told employees in an email Wednesday afternoon. Phase 3 boosts faculty and staff to 75% or less of personnel on campus and includes limited reopenings of UREC, student union, library, and dining facilities. LSU began Phase 2 of its return to campus plan on June 8th, increasing its personnel numbers to 50% on campus. LSU interim president Tom Galligan said the university is anticipating Governor John Bel Edwards will further ease his stay-at-home restrictions on June 26. Louisiana is in Phase 2 of Edwards' order, which allows in part restaurants, malls, gyms, and outdoor playgrounds to operate at 50%. LSU is required each phase to be completed for at least 14 days before moving on to the next step, and so far each step has fulfilled that requirement on schedule, a sign that the university is moving closer forward to a full return to in-person instruction when the fall semester begins on August 24th. Phase 3, Galligan said, is LSU getting back to speed. Okay, moving on. Court, central pastor's suit moot after order expired. Judge suggests state inconsistent in rules for protesters, churchgoers, by Liam Skeen. A federal court ruled Thursday that Central Pastor Tony Spell's lawsuit against the governor, which claimed Louisiana's social distancing requirements violated his constitutional rights, is moot because the stay-at-home order has expired. But one judge cautioned that the state is treating churchgoers and protesters differently under the First Amendment, and that crowd restrictions might not survive a later challenge. Weeks after limiting how many people could attend church services, such as Spell's Life Tabernacle Church, because of the risk of spreading the coronavirus, Governor John Bel Edwards openly encouraged protesters demonstrating against police brutality after police killed George Floyd in Minneapolis. While agreeing Spell's lawsuit was moot Thursday, Judge James Ho wrote in a concurring opinion for the Fifth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals that the state's social distancing restrictions seem inconsistent. At the outset of the pandemic, public officials declared that the only way to prevent the spread of the virus was for everyone to stay home and away from each other. They ordered citizens to cease all public activities to the maximum possible extent, even the right to assemble, to worship, or to protest, Ho wrote. In recent weeks, officials have not only tolerated protests, they have encouraged them as necessary and important expressions of outrage over abuses of government power. Okay. Moving on. New Orleans Archdiocese to auction old school campus. Kenner property eyed to raise funds after bankruptcy filing by Ramon Antonio Vargas. In the first move to raise funds through selling land since filing for bankruptcy protection, the Archdiocese of New Orleans is set to auction off a campus the St. Elizabeth Ann Seton School moved out last year, a church attorney said at a federal court hearing on Thursday. The former owner of New Orleans Fairgrounds Racecourse, residential developer Brian Krantz, offered to buy the vacant complex at 4119 St. Elizabeth Drive in Kenner for $1.8 million on May 26, according to court documents. But a committee of unsecured creditors in the bankruptcy case, which includes clergy abuse claimants, objected, saying there was no sign that the property's market value has been appraised before the Archdiocese agreed to sell to grants. The Archdiocese filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection on May 1st, saying the move was necessary after numerous clergy abuse lawsuits and the coronavirus pandemic dealt serious blows to its administrative office's finances. Bankruptcy filings offered a value for the current campus of St. Elizabeth, 4335 Sal Lentini Parkway, where it moved in fall of 2019. That property is valued at nearly $1.5 million, but the filings don't mention any property under the addresses of St. Elizabeth for a campus that is currently up for sale. Okay, and finally, a story about June 10th, and we're at the 9:55 mark. So let me quickly read you the story. If you are listening to us to the audio on our TV stations, that's going to cut off as of now. And you can go to our YouTube station, AOC Community Media, or our online streaming radio station, Cypress Street Radio. That's CYPRESS Street Radio. June 10th, A Day of Joy and Pain and Now Action by Aaron Morrison and Kate Stafford, Associated Press. So this is a national story, but I thought it would be important to read because of the history of this particular day, and that it's important to read about, especially in what's happening in our country currently. And just about any other year, Juneteenth, the holiday celebrating the day in 1865 that the last enslaved Black people learned that they had been freed from bondage, which was in Galveston, Texas, would be marked by African American families across the nation with a cookout, a parade, a community festival, a soulful rendition of Lift Every Voice and Sing. But in 2020, as the coronavirus ravages Black America disproportionately, as economic uncertainty wrought by the pandemic strains Black pocketbooks, and as police brutality continues to devastate Black families, Juneteenth is a day of protest. Red velvet cake, barbecue ribs, and fruit punch are optional. For many white Americans, recent protests over police brutality has driven their awareness of Juneteenth's significance. This is one of the first times since the 60s when the global demand, the intergenerational demand, the multiracial demand is for systemic change, said Cornell University professor Nolowi Rooks, a segregation expert. There is some understanding and acknowledgement at this point that there's something in the DNA of this country that has to be undone. Friday celebrations will be marked from coast to coast with marches and demonstrations of civil disobedience, along with expressions of Black joy in spite of a especially traumatic time for the nation. And like the nationwide protests that followed the police-involved deaths of Black men and women in Minnesota, Kentucky, and Georgia, Juneteenth celebrations are likely to be remarkably more multiracial. In Tulsa, a day ahead of a planned presidential campaign rally Saturday for Donald Trump, Reverend Al Sharpton and Tiffany Crutcher, twin sister of a Black man killed by a city police officer in 2016, planned keynote addresses about the consequences of racial prejudice. Their commemoration will take place in the Greenwood District at the site known as Black Wall Street, where dozens of blocks of Black-owned businesses were destroyed by a white mob and deadly race riots nearly a century ago. And that about wraps up the news for this morning, the June 19th, 2020. I always enjoy bringing the news to you. Hope that you enjoy listening to it. If you want to become a reader and be part of a family of newspaper readers, you can. I've been doing it from my home since the stay-at-home order and the pandemic has forced us out of the regular AOC podcast booth. But if you're interested in becoming a volunteer reader, just go to aocinc.org, click on the form and fill out to be a volunteer newspaper reader. Come join us and be a part of this wonderful service that we offer Monday through Friday from 9 to 10 p.m., 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Not in the evening, no. 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. There is a rebroadcast at 3 a.m. on Cypress Street Radio. So as always, this has been Bruce Cohen. I want to wish you a very good day. Looks like it could be a pretty nice weekend out there. But please, going outside, be safe, be healthy, be smart. Wear your mask. Take the precautions. I just read you a bunch of articles that Louisiana is spiking again. We need to beat this. The only way we can beat it is by being smart. Wear a mask whenever you go outside. Please do, especially when you're around crowds of people. Wear your mask. Wash your hands, sanitize, do whatever you need to do to keep this thing at bay, to stay healthy and safe for you and for others around you. Again, good morning, have a great day, and be kind to each other.